or put their cell phones on vibrate so they don't go off and disrupt the proceedings. Honestly, from about this pole, this direction, you don't have any signal anyway, so you're just killing your battery. I'll present the cases for today in review of today's public hearing, along with any maps, photographs, plans, and sketches involved in today's cases. I also present any letters we've received in support or opposition to a case, as well as any correspondence we've received from other government agencies. At the conclusion of my presentation, the applicant will come first to the table, along with any persons in support, and address the board. If there's opposition present, the board will hear from those parties opposed. After the opposition has presented their testimony, the applicant will have a period for rebuttal. In the board's rules today, cases without opposition, the applicants have 10 minutes to present their case to this board. If there is opposition present, each side, both the opposition and the applicant, have 15 minutes in total to present their case to the board. Again, the applicant, should they wish to have a rebuttal of the opposition's testimony, they need to save some of their 15 minutes. All section numbers I refer to today come directly from the Metropolitan Code of Law in Title 17. Title 17 was adopted by the Metro Council and became effective January 1st, 1998, and applies to the entire jurisdiction of Metro government. I'll introduce and make part of the record the entire zoning code, a copy of which is at my desk behind me, and I'll dispense from reading individual sections unless the applicant or opposition requests that I read them. The zoning code requires that these proceedings be taped. Therefore, it's imperative anyone wishing to address this board, please come forward. I have 3 seats for you. Turn your microphone on like mine is with a little red ring around it. It means the mic is on. Identify yourself and make your presentation. Should be noted that it's found anyone's presented false or misleading testimony to this board that may have affected the board's decision. Any approval can be revoked at a later date by means of a show cause hearing. The board will go through all cases set for public hearing today, and after each case, the board will then discuss and vote on that case. The board is vested to act under Section 1740-180 of the Metro Code of Law. The code requires that 4 members of our 7-member board be present to constitute a quorum. The code requires that 4 affirmative votes are needed to grant your application. So in the event that you only have 4 members hearing your case, you need all 4 votes to approve your case today. If you fail to get all 4 votes, your case will be reset and re-advertised for the next available public hearing. Cases tied up on votes today, if we only have 4 members present hearing, will be heard January 2nd, 2014. That's our next available hearing date. In the event that there are 5 or more members present and you fail to get 4 affirmative votes, your case will stay on our agenda for the next 30 days. We'll have 2 meetings in the next 30 days. Over those next 30 days, the members who did not participate can watch the proceedings on Channel 3, review the paper record, and become eligible to participate when they come back. Any of the board members who voted in the prior case can change their vote. And then if after 30 days worth of meetings, again 2 meetings, and you still do not have 4 votes, your case is deemed denied by operation of law. Any appellant or aggrieved property owner may request a rehearing within 60 days of this public hearing. Further, any applicant or aggrieved property owner may appeal this board's decision to Chancery or Circuit Court within the same 60-day period, but once 60 days has elapsed, this decision is final and no further action may be taken. If you're an appellant and your case is granted, it is necessary for you to obtain the permit for which you've applied. It should be noted you have 2 years from today's date to obtain your permit. So if you get approved today and you just unable or not possible for you to pick up your permit within 2 years, your approval today basically nullifies and you have to re-seek it. If you do pick up your permit's good forever unless the board places a condition upon you. That time limits it. Mr. Chairman, I submit that the cases were filed in proper order. Applicants were notified by certified mail as required by the code. Legal ad was published in the Tennessean, and all property owners within 300 feet were notified by first-class mail. But before I begin, preliminary announcements. Are there any elected officials present? Okay, seeing none. Preliminary announcements today. The first one I have is regarding case 2013-111 that's before this board today, the original submittal by the appellants included a parking garage, which you will hear today, on Cleghorn Avenue, and a parking garage and a Dillard's at the intersection of Cleghorn and Abbott Martin. I'm drawing a blank there for some reason. That portion of the appeal, the Abbott Martin and Cleghorn, I did not send proper notice on. So I'm pulling that section of the appeal today, and I'll refile that at no expense to the appellant. And we'll get that. That will be scheduled for December 5th. It is a new public hearing on its own. The case number for that one is 2013-130. Again, I apologize for the error on my part, but we'll get that. What is before you today is the parking garage on Cleghorn Avenue, which you'll see later in the day. So if folks are here for case 111, the portions dealing with the Dillards and the parking garage at the intersection of Abbott Martin in Cleghorn will not be heard today. That'll be December 5th. But the freestanding garage on Cleghorn will be heard today. So again, I apologize for the error on my part. Let's see here. Mr. Chairman, I have nothing else. The board has a consent agenda, and a board member reviews the record in each case prior to this public hearing, and if, in their opinion, the applicant meets the criteria for the application requested and they feel that testimony in the case would not alter material facts, they recommend the case for approval to the remainder of the board by means of the consent agenda. I'll now enter into the cases reviewed by Chairman Whitson that he has recommended for approval. And if there's anyone here in opposition to the case numbers that I call, please raise your hand. If I do not call your case number, your case is not on the consent agenda, and we'll hear it in its regular order. The first case recommended for the consent agenda is on page 1, 2013-109, Mr. Joseph Horowitz, the appellant and owner of the property at 229 Haverford Avenue. He was requesting in item D, which is an addition to a non-conforming structure and a variance inside setback to construct 2 covered porch additions. Is there anyone here present in opposition to case 109? Mr. Chairman, seeing none. Mr. Slate was stretching there, right? Okay. The hardship in this case is the narrowness of the lot. The next case recommended for the consent agenda is case 2013-110, Ms. Patsy Reese, the appellant and owner of the property at 5225 Brick Church Pike, requesting a variance in the street setbacks in RS 80 to construct a new 30 by 40 detached accessory building. Is there anyone here in opposition to case 110? Mr. Chairman, seeing none. This property has exceptional topography on it, as well as a stream that cuts through the front part of the property, and where the applicant wishes to locate it is essentially the only flat spot on the property to build. So with those 2 hardships, that is recommended for consent. The next case recommended for the consent agenda is case 2013-112, Faith United Baptist Church at 2740 Whites Creek Pike, requesting a special exception and a variance in street setback in R6 to construct a new fellowship hall for expansion for phase 1 and request approval for phase 2 addition referred to the board under section 17-16-170. See folks present in opposition to case 112. 112, seeing none. The irregular shape of the property and the slope along necessitate the need for the variance portions. The special exception portions comply with all aspects of the special exception section. Mr. Whitson recommends that case for the consent agenda. Getting now at the top, page 3, the next case recommended for consent agenda is case 2013-113, Mr. Robert Slade at 1700 Overton Street, that's in Old Hickory, requesting a variance in street setbacks in R15 to construct a new 1,080 square foot single family residence. This was previously approved by the board in 2010 and 2011. The time limits have run on that case, and Mr. Slade is seeking reapproval of his plan. The hardships in the prior plan were listed as a exceptionally large easement area to the rear of the property, forcing this building site forward. Is any parties present in opposition to case 113? Okay, Mr. Chairman, seeing none. The next case recommended for consent, case 2013-114, Mr. Lucas Chestnut is the appellant, Commodore Capers Townhomes, the owner, the property at 1610 19th Avenue South, requesting addition to non-conforming use in RM40 to construct Phase 2 of the Commodore Capers. This plan was also previously approved by the board twice before in 2009 and 2011. This property has changed hands from the appellant in the prior case to the new owners. Upon their purchase, they realized their time was running out and they sought to renew that variance as well. Are there any parties present opposed to case 114 on 19th Avenue South? Mr. Chairman, seeing that, again, this is the same plan previously approved by the board in prior plans, new owner. And then finally, case 2013-92 at the bottom of page 3, Bensa Vetvong, I hope I pronounced your name properly, miss. The appellant and owner of the property at 1401 West Running Brook Road, requesting a variance and street setback to construct a new covered front porch. The proposal on the docket was 8'6" by 36 feet across. It's been reduced to 6'8" in width and 36 feet across the front. She has received the approval of our homeowners association for the request, and that case has been recommended for the consent agenda as well. So cases 109, 110, 112, 113, 114, and 92 recommended by Chairman Whitson.
Okay, so we have a motion for the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes.
You adopt. If you're here for cases 109, 110, 112, 113, 114, and 92, your cases have been approved. You are free to go. And be sure to follow up with the Codes Department beginning on Monday for your permits. On the smaller projects, obviously the residential, larger projects may have additional items on the checklist that need approval. Please follow up with those agencies. But you can check back with our office on Monday to find out where you stand, okay? With that, those cases are approved. We'll call the first case, case 2013-111, Green Hills TRG LLC is the appellant and owner of the property. Yes.
To the board, I'm going to need to recuse myself from this case as one of the parties as a client of the firm. Thank you, everybody.
With that, the chairman's day is over. He's free to leave. Yes, sir. Okay, Green Hills TRG LLC is the appellant and owners of the property. Again, as described at 3818 Cleghorn, requesting a variance in street and rear setbacks and skyplane in the SCR district to construct a 3-story parking garage for dealers on the property. The members of you are aware, this is many of the setbacks and skyplanes that you've been dealing with recently are special exceptions. This is a variance standard because it's outside the UZO. The Green Hills Mall sits south of I-440, and that 440 is the boundary of the urban zoning overlay. Let me go over the photographs I have for the site, and I'll turn it over to the appellants in this case. Is there any parties present to case 111 in opposition? The record reflects there are no one in opposition, so you'll have 10 minutes to present. And for the folks on Channel 3, I'm going to dim the lights in the front room just a little bit. For some reason, my picture is washed out on the screen. I hope it doesn't affect you adversely. The subject properties you see here are the parcels in red along the east side of Avenue, just north of Abbott Martin Road. Aerial photographs showing the subject properties. The nature of the request here is to construct a 3-story but a 4-level parking garage. The first level is at grade level, but 4 levels total, 3 stories in height. The nature of the request before you is a street setback variance. The required street setback along Cleghorn is 58 from the center line. They're proposing 54. And then as you notice in the graphic on the top side, the areas in white are the portions of the garage that are penetrating the setback and skyplane. So that red box you see is the superimposing of the skyplane and setback, as the table calls for. And then at the bottom, it's a little bit distorted on my scan there, the encroachments. And then at the rear, there's a 20-foot required setback, and it's 15 and a half showing. And the sky.
Joey, we have a lot of newer board members here. Could you explain what the sky plane is and why it's in front of us?
Sure. The sky plane, the zoning code allows for in commercial districts you have your setbacks built in. It allows a certain height at that setback line. And then for every foot you come back is the sky plane. So at that height, you're allowed to build taller so long as you move away from the setback. So for every foot you move away, you can go either 1.5 feet or 2 feet. And in this case, it's 1.5 feet for every foot you move away from the setback.
So it just gradually, you can go up, but then you have to go back.
It's kind of a pyramid shape. If I recall my history, it's more of a ziggurat, kind of a solid vertical wall for the height that you're given, and then the plane goes up, as you see, as they've depicted here. This photograph here at the top kind of shows that better.
And why do we approve this?
I'm sorry?
Why do we approve the sky plane?
Well, it falls under the setback table. So it's a variance. When we penetrate the setback, you're also violating the sky plane provision, which you see here. This photograph here drawing shows the depiction at the rear property line. The areas in white are the garage that are penetrating the setback and sky plane combination there. And you see the setback infringement, and they've listed the sort of the volume area, cubic feet or floor area that's actually penetrated. And then the area we're talking about is labeled as the north deck on this site plan here. Rear setbacks along this line, Cleghorn's out front. This is the subject site upon my visit out there and where the garage would be constructed. The upper left photograph looks to the north, and the setback variance would be along this portion. Cleghorn's just to the left. You see the public sidewalk here. This is Cleghorn. So the setbacks require it to be 58 feet from the center line. They're proposing 54. This view is turned almost 180 degrees south, looking back toward the parcels to the south here. Cleghorn will be on the right-hand side. And a view of Cleghorn in the upper left, properties across Cleghorn. And then a view north along Cleghorn. You see as the sidewalk meanders there around the telephone pole. And then a view south toward the intersection of Abbott Martin down about where my cursor is there. The variance portions along the rear would be along this portion of the property. I think the aerial photograph probably shows it better. That parking garage you saw in the photograph is this garage here. So that gray garage there. This is along the rear property line. So you have encroachments along that rear property line in setback, which is also sky plane, and then along Cleghorn. And I'm going to recycle to here and let Mr. Lockwood, if you'd like me to roll through those again.
Yeah, if you keep that aerial up, that'd be good.
I'll turn it over to you guys. You have 10 minutes to present.
Well, thank you. My name's Bill Lockwood. I'm with Barge Wagner, Sumner and Cannon, and I'm here with Lisa Callahan of Taubman and Bill Pippin, a consultant to Taubman, working on this expansion to Green Hills Mall. Ultimately, we are relocating Dillard's out and then rebuilding a garage under it, and then building additional parking on this lot to facilitate the relocation and intensification of that site. I guess from hardship, we have physical characteristics, as you can tell, that you've got an angle lot coming down to the south of the property, and the narrowness of the lot kind of precludes us doing, a three-bay parking area. So, and we're trying to keep the parking level as low as possible so that we're not penetrating any more of the height in this condition. There's also a significant grade difference between the north and the south of this lot, which is another constraint. And I would say on the narrowness of this lot, another aspect of it is when they came in and added the major and collector street plan really gave more of a setback than what we originally had in the lot before that came in. Originally from the right-of-way, if the existing right-of-way was used as a setback, we could build this building without asking for variances. So that's kind of squeezed in the lot even more than what it was. This was, but we've worked in where this is only a 4-foot variance on the front, and actually the rear yard is, we're asking for a 4-foot front, and then we're actually only asking for 11 feet from one corner, or which would be a 9-foot variance, and a 5-foot variance on the north side to the actual deck. We're 15 feet off of the property line on that north side, and it's a 20-foot rear setback, so we're only asking for a 5-foot variance there. And then on the south side, as the property heads south, it's getting tighter to the front, and therefore we're having to ask for an 11 or a 9-foot variance on the south side. So, physical characteristics, as I've stated, is that the narrowness of the property. There is also some easement restrictions on the rear. We also have a grade difference between the north and south of about 15 feet. So those are the kind of the main points. We think that it does not adversely affect the area. I mean, we're putting a parking garage right across from a parking garage. We're still pretty far back from the right-of-way. We're only 4 feet closer to the street. I don't see that as a main thing. Another element of this project is we will be doing an 8-foot sidewalk making the connection from the north to the south, and ultimately when we do the Dillard's property, we'll actually make the connection all the way around Abbott Martin and to Nordstrom, so that we're making that connection from a pedestrian standpoint, tying the sidewalk network around the whole block, actually. So we are providing that.
Is there going to be a connector to the new Dillard's building or to the mall from this parking garage? Like a bridge or walkway or something?
We are showing one right now, but we're working through those issues to make sure that it can function. Yeah, we are showing that on our plans.
Is the height of this proposed parking garage lower than the height of the proposed Dillard's or
Yes.
the current mall? So it's not as tall?
No, it's not as tall.
Okay.
I guess the only question I had on Cleghorn, you don't have any plans to block Cleghorn while you're doing construction?
No.
So it would be, so that, and then by decreasing the setback on Cleghorn, does that in any way prohibit the ability of the city to expand Cleghorn to 4 lanes there at some point?
No, but actually, I think that based on the major thoroughfare plan, they've gone to a 3-lane section, and we have the actual curb existing out there to do what they have asked within the major thoroughfare plan.
Right.
Are you sure that Cleghorn won't be blocked off? I had a client in the Green Hills area that hired me to deal with the construction of Nordstrom because that street was blocked off and it had really adversely affected their business.
Nordstrom's was a lot closer to the street than this will be.
So really there's no plans to...
There shouldn't be.
Or if it is, just very minimal.
Right. I think if you had to close off any of the street, you may have to close off a portion of the bike lane. They now have like 3 lanes and then bike lanes on either side, so you may have to do some of that, but primarily you shouldn't have to do it, except for, if you're out there doing utility construction, there may be some night work or something of that nature.
If you all get approved, are you starting construction after the holiday season?
Yes, hopefully before March.
Okay.
And is this the first phase? The first phase is to build this parking garage and then...
Right. The phasing of it would be, the first phase would be this garage, some utility coordination. The second phase would be to tear down the parking deck of Dillard's, build a new parking deck and put Dillard's on top. Once that's built and completed, then you would tear down the existing Dillard's and then expand the shops out to the new Dillards.
And what's the time frame for the whole construction?
We're looking at the Dillard's opening, sorry. We're looking at Dillard's opening in 16, probably fall of 16, and then the final done sometime in 18.
So two
Probably
to
close
3 years?
Yeah, it's going to be, the first parking deck on Cleghorn will take about a year to do.
And can you please identify yourself for the record?
I'm sorry, I'm Lisa Callahan with Taubman Company.
Thank you. And there's already existing traffic light right there at the entrance, so you'll use that. There's no need to move a signal or to do anything
Well,
different.
we've actually submitted a traffic study. There would be some, we were trying to move this access point whether we will or not, but we would be doing some new signal modifications at that location and probably doing a new signal at Abbott Martin and Cleghorn just to kind of clean up that and take some of the overhead lines kind of out of the way. There are also some other minor signal modifications at Crestmore and Hillsborough, and minor signal modifications at Abbott Martin and Hillsborough.
So what is this doing to the total parking count?
We're adding approximately 400 additional spaces, but we are taking, Dillard's has got about 600 spaces, so when we finish with all the parking, we're about 1,009 spaces back in. So
Was there a net gain of space, I think?
there's a net gain of about 450 spaces. And also, thinking about, your parking relationships, we're trying to really try to facilitate a more, people coming in this side of the mall versus coming off of Hillsborough Road. So it'll kind of spread out some of the traffic.
Yes, you're taking away my favorite place to park in the upper deck of Dillard's. That's always, except for holidays, a good place to park.
Well, actually, when Dillard's is finished, you'll have parking right underneath Dillard's.
So I'm hearing that after all the phases are done and you expand them all fairly substantially, there's only 400 new spaces?
650.
It's, the expansion is only 125,000 square feet, so it's about 400, 500 spaces when we look at it, yes.
And will traffic, this little driveway or whatever you call it, will that be the main entrance to get into this new structure, or will it be off of Cleghorn?
Actually, do you still have your?
Yes.
Do they have these booklets?
And thank you for these very extensive detailed plans.
Yeah. Actually, if you look at 28A, I think it's in your booklet, kind of gives an overall, you have the existing access that kind of runs in between Dillard's and the garage.
Sure.
That comes in and will come in on one level of the deck. If you come back up to where Nordstrom's ballet space is, there's an entrance there, but it's on another floor level. We are also proposing off of Cleghorn an entrance only into the lower level, which would come into the lower level of the deck. And then if you came in that access to the north where you were talking about that existing light, we would enter at one level off of that street, and then if you keep going up, it would come in into another access point. So we've kind of
And it looks like,
several points coming into the garage, but it comes in at different levels so you can empty and out.
and it looks like you slightly widen that drive, or is that just the way it looks on? I mean,
It just looks,
Okay.
primarily you've got 2 lanes in, 2 lanes out.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very narrow lot. I remember the old Cosmopolitan Health Club that used to be there, and it was just a very almost shotgun-like building because it wasn't a very
Right.
big lot that was there.
Good presentation, Mr. Lockwood. Any further questions? Joe, I move we close the public hearing.
So close the public hearing on case 111.
Well, as we know by, I guess, our most recent BZA meeting, things in Green Hills can be sometimes contentious, but, I think they've done a good job with a very high-profile space to come up with a solution. As we all know, if our cities are just more cars and more demand for parking and shopping, and so it looks like they've tried to take care of both of the demand for shopping, more stores, and parking by adding this space. So, and clearly there's no one here in opposition to, so good job.
David?
No, I agree. I mean, I think I heard on, I guess, 2 stations that you all were coming, and that you were planning to expand the mall, and it was well publicized, and we don't have any opposition. So I think that's something that speaks to the feeling that folks have about the expansion, which is good. I mean, I think people would be here if they didn't like the idea, especially as well publicized as it was. And I think that the variances that we're requesting on this piece of property are fairly minor. I'm not a traffic person. I know it's really hard to park there. I think that, the 400 spots, maybe they can make that garage bigger if they need to at some point in time, but I hope that that's enough for you, and I'm sure y'all do the research to feel like it is. But I don't have any problem with the plan. I think it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, this is a long way from the old Green Hills Village and Village Mall, I guess it was called. But yeah, I agree. It's almost like I was expecting a larger parking structure, very similar to the movie lot, but it looks, very reasonable for what they're asking for.
Cynthia? All right, entertain a motion.
I don't have a cheat sheet.
I move that we approve case 2013-111 for the appellant Dillard's and Green Hills TRG LLC to give them a variance in the street setback and the sky plane to construct their 3-story parking garage due to the narrowness of the lot.
And the topography.
Oh, and yes, the topography, yes, of the lot too, as it slopes up and down.
Also mention the rear.
It is rear as well.
Oh, that's right. There's a the rear setback too as well. Is that right, Joey? Good. Okay.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second.
I'll second.
Motion second. Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So passed.
Good luck.
And with that, the Board of Zoning Appeals is adjourned for today. Thank you.
Good job.